Felt violated. Felt like I was doing something wrong when I wasn't doing anything wrong.
When I asked the cop, why did he stop me? He says, well, you look suspicious. And when I said to him, I can't believe this is happening to me, he says, well, I don't believe you. This has had to happen to you before.
But when it actually happens to you, like, you feel nervous, you don't know what to expect. You hear the stories about people getting killed by the police, and stop and frisk is also part of that.
It's a scary environment to live in when the people who are supposed to be protecting you are your enemies, and they make it blunt every day that they are your enemies.
Now, that's some reaction at a rally. This was obviously prior to today's decision by the judge, or at least her holding. Now, those who are stopped and frisked, though, the experience certainly, as you heard, can be pretty threatening, and it can change the way that people look at police. And Dominic, again, he heard from two plaintiffs that really were at the crux of this suit here. As I said, there's 4 plaintiffs, right? And you heard from a couple of them whose experiences were the basis for this case.
Yes, Richard, and what we heard this afternoon was a similar account. An apparent routine stop by the NYPD, and residents were left feeling completely violated. We want to introduce you to one of the plaintiffs, a 31-year-old teacher's assistant at a Bronx school.
The stop that I testified in court about was I was a teacher's assistant, and I was coming back from lunch, going back to my school. Stopped at the corner store, which is literally across the street from the school. 2 officers was in there, undercover dudes. I come outside, they come out and they're like, hey, you come over here. So I'm like, what you talking about? Pull out the badges, police, come over here. So they got me boxed against the wall and they're like, oh, we saw you walk past the drug building. I said, well, I gotta walk past the building and get to the store. Like, I'm a teacher assistant. Where you coming from? I work right there. It's not what I asked you. Where you coming from? Like, okay. Oh, you got any drugs on you? Nah, I ain't got nothing on me. Then they get a little closer. You saying if I search you, you ain't gonna have no drugs on you? Nah, I ain't got nothing on me. They come up like right in front of me. I'm boxed in, and the 3rd time, I'm like, yo, I ain't got nothing on me. So people come out the Chinese store, they come out the Botanica, and then the cops walked away. So that was my particular situation. Again, that's what I testified. I mean, there have been other stops that, you know, actually involved, you know, physical and frisks and things of that nature, but that particular stop, that didn't happen.
And how do you feel with Judge Scheinlin's ruling?
I mean, I think, to be honest, I mean, it's one of those things of like, we're not crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that we know happens to us on a daily basis. And when we've tried to speak about it in other forums and other contexts, it's, oh, y'all must have done something wrong. Oh, you must be doing something wrong. That's why they stopped you. The police are here to protect and serve. But her ruling is saying y'all not crazy. Like, there is a systemic pattern of racial profiling that's going on. The system is acknowledging that, and now how do we try to make remedies and move forward?
And another plaintiff we sat down with this afternoon was Leroy Downs. Ironically, Mr. Downs worked, Richard, as a substance abuse counselor when he was stopped by the NYPD.
My situation was I was sitting in front of my house on a cell phone, talking on the cell phone back in the day. You know, they had the wire headpiece, not the Bluetooth. And I was speaking to a friend of mine, and I watched the undercover officer drive up the block. They reversed back. They jumped out the car, and they said, you know, hey, buddy, you know, you look like you're smoking weed. So I'm like, I'm on a cell phone. Like, what do you mean? You know, using certain you know, choice words, get against the fence, blah, blah, blah. Started pushing me towards my fence, you know, my family's house. And I'm backing up, and I'm like, bro, you know, you have no reason to, you know, to stop me or search me. Like, what are you doing? They're like, yo, don't give us a hard time. I'm happy about the ruling. I'm very happy, but I'm not naive to the processes in the city. You know, it's you know, my term that I always say is, you know, big ship, small rudder. It's going to take a long time. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that, you know, the stop policies are going to change tomorrow, but I'm hopeful.
As Richard mentioned, the city is appealing, but the plaintiffs say the reforms, years in the making, is long overdue. Richard?